We're going to talk, though, about, you said Ole Miss first. I'm going to go first. How about that? Is that okay?
It's fine with me.
Right on. Georgia State, Ole Miss. Ole Miss, what do we know about Ole Miss? Transfer quarterback.
Transfer
Running game's
quarterback
great.
Austin Simmons.
Yep. Austin Simmons. They have a decent running back. Wide receiver core. I think
wide receiver core should be pretty good. I mean, that's one thing that Lane Kiffin tends to hit hard out of the portal each and every year. They get some good wide receivers in. So
my thing is, how's that Landshark defense going to be?
Were they not
hit and miss last year? They had some games where they held a team to 10, 15 points, 14 points. They also had games that I was like, wow, they gave up quite a bit of points in that game.
Yeah.
But then they played Georgia, look, lights out. I understand the defense is going to look different than last year, but I don't know if that's a coordinator issue, if that's talent issue. I don't know what it is, but I felt like they were vastly inconsistent last year.
Yeah, you want to hear a couple of names that
sure, go for it.
The Ole Miss has. So this is out of the transfer portal. They picked up Caleb Odom, sophomore wide receiver from Alabama. You've got Harrison Wallace, senior wide receiver from Penn State. Looks like DeZon Stribling, senior wide receiver from Oklahoma State. This is one that you'll recognize. Kaiwan Lacey, running back from Missouri. And then not a wide receiver or running back, but you remember Luke Haas from Arkansas, the tight end?
I do not.
They now have him, as well as Deuce Alexander, wide receiver from Wake Forest. So, yeah, they hit the transfer portal.
Doing his thing, though, right? Piecing together a Frankenstein team, calling it Ole Miss. So,
yeah, exactly. And, I'll give him credit for one thing. He always tends to put together a team that is going to compete year in and year out, but do they meet expectations most years?
I just don't think you can have a championship caliber team doing that type of recruiting. In my opinion, I just don't see how it works out.
Because can you get all the pieces to gel together?
Yeah, I mean, that's it. That's it. Like, it's a brotherhood, and when you completely ruin the brotherhood by just bringing in people from everywhere that have zero loyalty or whatever, I mean, I just don't see how it's a winning. It's not a winning formula. That's why you've not seen it happen. In fact, I would say they've underachieved. I would say they've
underachieved last year.
Dude, I had them winning it all. Not the Natty, but I had them winning the SEC. Well, no, I don't even think I had them winning the ship. I had them going undefeated in the regular season.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't think I believed in Lane Kiffin on winning the championship games. But I did think that they had the schedule and the team that and they beat Georgia, which was the crazy one that I picked. But like, I don't know, it's crazy to me.
But when you lose to teams like Kentucky and then Florida on the road, or no, that was it was on the road. Never mind.
How do you lose to Kentucky?
Yeah, I don't know exactly.
But I do think, and I went ahead and put up a couple dubs because I think it's the most easiest dubs I think we've had in this show. Because I think that game at Kentucky, Lane Kiffin's probably had this game circled for a while. So it would be funny if they lost it. But I'm going to predict wins to start out the season against Georgia State and Kentucky. And then they go to Arkansas, and a very intriguing game against Arkansas. And I think it'll be a tight game, but I think it's going to be a big swing game for both Arkansas and Ole Miss. But I do have Ole Miss taking the dub here. I just think they do have the better talent, and I do trust their coach a little bit more, surprisingly. I know. Tulane, solid team, but I don't think solid enough for Ole Miss. So they start pretty hot. 4-0 going into LSU. They host LSU. I think that's huge. But if expectations serve right, LSU should get this win in a 59-57 shootout, because that's what you're going to get with Ole Miss and LSU every year. Washington State, after a bye week, easy win. Easy win. Sorry, hit the wrong tab. It's I'm new to this. At Georgia. This is where it gets tricky. I feel like Ole Miss is such a swing team, man. I feel like they could have a really good year because there's a bunch of unknowns with all these transfers, or they not gel and they don't really win a single big game. But I think for the sake of business, I'm gonna stick to the safe route, and I'm gonna say that Georgia's had this game scheduled or circled on their schedule for a while, and it's home for Georgia, away for Ole Miss. I did it again. I'm gonna give a loss there for Georgia, for Ole Miss against Georgia. At Oklahoma, dangerous right after Georgia. Don't want to lose 2 games in a row, right? But I did it. I did it. I got to say true, though. I do have Oklahoma beating Ole Miss. South Carolina home game, much needed back in the Grove, I guess is what they call it, out hotty toddy. The Grove. I think they get the win against South Carolina. I think they get the win against Citadel. And then Florida is a tricky one. I got to look back, man. I don't know how I picked that one. Did we already did the Florida prediction, right? It was last week?
Yeah, we did Florida.
How did I do that one? All right, okay, good. I think that's how I wanted it. I do have them beating Florida. Because didn't they lose to Florida last year?
Yeah, that was the game where what's his name? Jackson Arnold. You got Ole Miss winning, right?
Yeah, I know. I just did it again.
Yeah.
I'm new to this.
That was a game where Jackson Dart threw like 3 interceptions in the final 4 minutes of the game, 2 minutes of the game, something like that.
Sounds about right. Yeah, he had like 17 tries to get it right and failed every single one of them.
Yeah.
Cried after the game, which is understandable if you care about football. But like at the same time, don't cry when it was, in my opinion, don't cry when it's your fault. Cry when it's something that was out of your control or something. I don't know. Like, be better. But overall, I've got Ole Miss going 9-3, and this is like the most typical Lane Kiffin, Brian Kelly type season. I just think that's what you are with those type of coaches. And yeah, I think the best case scenario for Ole Miss this year is a win over LSU and Oklahoma, and it's 11-1. I think they drop one to Georgia, and even if they beat Georgia, I think they drop one somewhere else. In my opinion, there's absolutely no way they run the table this year. But I think worst case scenario, you drop to South Carolina, you drop to Florida. I think Florida could be a little bit better this year than maybe their schedule will allow them to be, if that makes sense. But I think worst case scenario, you're looking at 7-5 for Ole Miss. I think best case, though, you're looking at 11-1. 9-3 overall. If you want to clear the board, I'm going to write these notes down.
All right. So yeah, Ole Miss this season, yet to be determined. This is the first year in really the last 3 or 4 years that you're really breaking in a new quarterback. Jackson Dart has been there for 2 years. Before that, I can't remember who it was, but Matt Corral.
Yep.
Matt Corral was a good quarterback there. Sean says I'm late to the party, but
hey,
doesn't like Ole Miss.
I don't think Sean likes really anybody. I'm
Except
starting to learn that.
So.
I'm starting that Sean is like screw everybody, but Tennessee, which I respect it. I respect it, honestly.
Yeah. So going down the schedule here, going down the schedule here, Georgia State. That's going to be a win in week 1 at Kentucky. You said it. Lane Kiffin's had this one circled on his schedule for a while. They're going to win at Kentucky this year.
So
they
bad.
are.
I will say it every chance I get.
Arkansas in week 3. I think this is going to be a close game. But I do think that Ole Miss gets a win. Tulane, a little bit tricky. Tulane gave them a run for their money for a little while last year before their starting quarterback got injured. And Ole Miss kind of pulled away, but Ole Miss going to get a win in that one. LSU on September the 27th. I think Skylar's 100% right. This is going to be a shootout type of game, but I do think that Ole Miss is going to get a win in that game. The game is in Oxford. If it was in Death Valley, I would say LSU probably wins that one, but I do think Ole Miss gets the win there and continuing the hot streak. I think they beat Washington State. This is where things kind of change here. Ole Miss is feeling good, 6-0. All the hype is there. Honestly, you probably see College Game Day go to either this game right here against Georgia or to the Tennessee-Alabama game, depending on what the teams look like. But at Georgia, I think that Georgia is going to have revenge on their mind after what happened last year. The game is in Athens. I think Georgia wins that game. Against Oklahoma, at Oklahoma the week after, I think that they have a hangover game from getting beat against Georgia. So I think that Oklahoma actually, wrong one. I think that Oklahoma actually gets a win in that game. I do think that following that game, you have a get right game against South Carolina. If the game was in Columbia, South Carolina, I've got South Carolina winning this one. But with the game being in Oxford, you just lost 2 straight. I think they rallied the troops a little bit. You get a win against South Carolina in a very tough game. The Citadel, that's going to be an easy win after that. Florida, game in Oxford. I've already said that I think Florida wins, and I think Florida wins. Man, I did it again. I think Florida wins. Florida wins in that game there. At Mississippi State in the Egg Bowl. So I actually found out today whenever I did this schedule that, used to the Egg Bowl was on Thanksgiving night. Then last year they moved it to Saturday off of Thanksgiving. This year it's on a Friday night, the day after Thanksgiving. And I think that they have a letdown spot in the last game of the season in Starkville. I think Mississippi State gets a win there. So I've got Ole Miss going 8-4 this year. Not having a very good back half of the schedule after starting off the season 6-0.
Dropping the last 2. So that's definitely a hangover from Florida. And I guess maybe not being locked in for Mississippi State. I don't know. Like, that's okay. I get it.
Yeah. So I've got them going 8-4. My floor for this team, I actually think that they could drop one to Arkansas in week 3 if they're just not focused enough. I think you could drop the game to LSU and then to South Carolina. So on the low end, I've got them going 5-7. I don't see that happening because Lane Kiffin is going to have an explosive offense. They're going to win. They're going to have a winning record this year. This isn't the Ole Miss, pre-Lane Kiffin, pre-Hugh Freeze. This is going to be a decent team this year regardless. So 5-7, that's on the very low end. Should not happen whatsoever. On the high end, I've got them beating Oklahoma, Florida, and Mississippi State, only getting beat by Georgia. So 11-1 is the ceiling, but I think 8-4 is what we're going to see Ole Miss this year.
Right on. Sean says he's not that bad on Ole Miss, just very anti-Lane Kiffin. That's very understandable. Let's see, Rhonda in the chat. We appreciate y'all guys being here. Thank y'all so much. I'm all of all. Hard to pull for Ole Miss except against South Carolina. A beamer ball. Come on now. PTG Brandon says Simmons has been in Oxford for 2 years. I think he'll be better than people think. I don't think we've doubted him. I think he is going to be decent. I just think when you have Frankenstein style of teams like Lane Kiffin's just putting together year after year, I just don't know if they're going to be able to gel enough ever to win a championship. Ever.
I mean, I don't know. So far it's proved unsuccessful for anybody that's tried piecing together a team like that to win a championship. Now, you've seen Ole Miss do it and have success. You've seen Tennessee do that and have success. But to win a championship...
Tennessee, I feel like, only pulled players in positions of need. They've not necessarily they don't just necessarily go out and pick and choose because they're number 1 in the transfer portal rankings or whatever. We're going to go get that player. I feel like Josh Heupel's been very calculated on how he picks the guys out of the portal, in my opinion.
I'll agree with that. Yeah.
But either way, I do have to make a correction on my schedule prediction for Ole Miss.
Okay.
In the LSU prediction, I have LSU losing to Ole Miss at Ole Miss, and I think I even said something along the lines of I have to go with the home team on this one. So, with that being said, I have them going 10-2, and I still keep the low and the high on the same. But I will be correcting my schedule there. So I had them going 10-2, and I wanted to make sure that that was said before we post this thing, and I get roasted in the comments for having flip-flopped my answers there so that I could never be wrong.
So with that 10-2, does Ole Miss make the playoffs or do they get left out?
With that 10-2, they make the playoffs.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think every 10-2 team makes
the playoffs this year.
Yeah. They won't do anything with it. Don't worry.